All right, so you wanted the real deal on Shenzhen. What's it actually like living there, coming from, say, the US or Europe?
Yeah, we dug into some firsthand accounts, specifically from someone working in education there. And, well, it seems it can be a bit of a wild ride.
It's not exactly a smooth transition.
It definitely sounds like it can be pretty rough around the edges, even compared to some other parts of Asia.
Interesting. What makes it so different?
Well, for one, the whole feeling in the city, they talked about new teachers coming in and, some just couldn't hack it, like gone in a couple of weeks.
Wow, seriously?
Yeah, the source mentioned this kind of heavy atmosphere. So that initial emotional adjustment, just getting used to the vibe, that can be a big hurdle.
I bet. I mean, culture shock is real, right? But it sounds like there's even more to it.
Yeah, and they highlighted that having lived abroad before, especially in East Asia, that helps a lot.
Makes sense, kind of preps you for the differences. Okay, so what else did they find tricky?
Oh, bureaucracy, for sure. Dealing with banks, government offices, even employers, it's not always the most straightforward.
Right. I mean, who hasn't been frustrated by red tape at some point? But is it really that much worse there?
Our source seemed to find it particularly challenging in Shenzhen. Even simple stuff that we take for granted, like updating bank info or mailing a package, it could become this whole ordeal.
Oh, man. That's got to be stressful. Okay, let's talk health. Any major concerns there?
Definitely some things to be mindful of. The source specifically said if you're prone to, say, heart problems or anxiety or have food allergies, you really got to be extra careful in Shenzhen.
So the healthcare system, is it not up to par?
Well, it's more like a different approach. They mentioned maybe not getting as much personalized attention in medical settings,
Yeah.
And one thing they mentioned was they got heat exhaustion and were told to just sweat it out,
Really? Like, that's the medical advice?
apparently, which obviously wouldn't fly everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
But on the plus side, seeing a specialist seems pretty quick.
Huh. So mixed bag. Anything else health-wise that stood out?
Yeah, this is important. They said there wasn't a lot of understanding about food allergies and vegetarianism. That could be tough too.
Gotcha. So definitely some prep work needed on that front. Now, what about safety in general? Did they feel secure?
Yeah, so they said like violent crime, muggings, that kind of thing, pretty rare.
Hmm.
Police response is generally fast, but knowing some basic Chinese or having a translation app is a must because the cops might not speak English.
Good to know. Okay, so what about scams and just like shady dealings? Is that a big worry?
It's definitely something to be aware of. They said while big-time corruption has gone down, there can still be some dodgy stuff happening day to day.
Right, so like what, getting ripped off at the market?
Could be. But they specifically called out issues with employers and landlords.
Yeah, that makes sense. More opportunity to exploit someone who's new to the place. What kind of stuff were they seeing?
Well, some employers seem to think, oh, these foreigners are getting paid more, so we can pile on the work. Or they figure foreigners don't know the labor laws, which actually are pretty decent for employees there.
So basically, assuming people are clueless and taking advantage.
Exactly. So they really stressed, do your research, get everything spelled out in your contract, even try connecting with people who already work there to get the inside scoop.
Smart move. And landlords, what were the issues there?
Oh, man, all sorts. Fake apartment listings online, places not being as advertised, even contract changes after you've agreed to everything.
Classic bait and switch.
Totally.
Yeah.
And they emphasized take photos, write everything down, because it's common for landlords to try and keep the security deposit.
Seriously, how much are we talking?
Usually it's like 2 months rent, but in smaller cities it can be way more, like 6 months even. And then they try to say you don't have to pay the last month's rent even though your deposit already covers it.
That's so messed up.
Yeah. So yeah, document everything. Oh, and another thing. They said if you get any minor violation, they might just change your key code.
No way. What, like if your music's too loud?
Could be something like that.
Yeah.
And the thing is that laws tend to favor landlords, so you don't have much recourse. So yeah, backup plan's a good idea.
Yikes. Okay, any other potential headaches we should know about?
Well, they mentioned online shopping, buying stuff from places like Taobao or Jingdong. Be careful, because what you see online isn't always what you get.
Oh, so like the pictures are all glammed up, but the real thing is a dud.
Yeah, and apparently fake reviews are a problem too. Plus, if you got to return something, the language barrier can make it a nightmare.
Right, that makes sense.
But the good news is things are getting better, especially as the middle class grows and demands more.
That's encouraging. Anything else about shopping?
Yeah, even in regular stores, you got to be careful with returns and warranties. They're not always enforced as strictly as we're used to.
So double check everything before you leave the store.
definitely. Online, though, customer service is generally pretty good. But, watch out for those return policies. Sometimes they can cost extra.
Gotcha. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. Anything else before we wrap up?
Yeah, few more health hazards to be aware of. First off, the heat. It gets brutal there, like 5 months straight of oppressive heat and humidity.
Yeah.
And air conditioning, no, let's just say it's not always up to Western standards.
Oh, man. So how do people cope?
You got to find those cool spots, malls, libraries, that kind of thing. And if you're going in the summer, pack light clothes, a good hat, maybe even some electrolyte pills or drops. They said a neck fan can be a lifesaver too.
Solid advice. What about air quality? I've heard China can be pretty bad.
It's not as bad as up north, but it's definitely worse than what you're probably used to. Especially when you first get there, your lungs might take a while to adjust.
Yeah, makes sense.
They recommended checking the air quality index online and maybe insisting in an air purifier for your place.
Okay, good tips.
Oh, and they said if the pollution's getting to you, a quick trip to Hong Kong can be a good way to escape.
Nice. So what about food poisoning? Is that a big risk?
It's not like India or some smaller Chinese cities, but you got to be careful. Hygiene standards aren't always the best, and they use a lot of, well, let's call them creative ingredients.
Like what?
Fake liquor, cooking oil that's been reused, who knows how many times, even seafood that might not be what it's labeled as. So, yeah, stick to modern, reputable places, especially when you first arrive. And maybe pack some digestive enzymes, just in case.
Good idea.
They also said that tap water's not safe to drink, even for brushing your teeth.
Seriously, not even a quick rinse.
Nope. And be careful with cuts and scrapes in the shower. It's easy to get an infection. Waterproof bandages are your friend.
Wow, I never thought about that.
Okay, any other hazards we've missed?
Just noise pollution. It's
Oh.
pretty constant. Traffic, construction, loud ads in supermarkets. And people seem to be pretty tolerant of it, so don't expect much soundproofing.
So earplugs are a must. Definitely. And if a place is super noisy, just don't go there. They even mentioned that there are emergency numbers you can call for serious noise violations.
Good to know you have some recourse. All right, last thing. Any tips on navigating the medical system?
Yeah, the language barrier can be tricky, and communication between staff isn't always great. Plus, they might not be as up to date on the latest tests and treatments.
So basically, avoid hospitals unless absolutely necessary.
Pretty much. Especially for anything complicated. They said the system is actually pretty efficient for minor stuff, like cuts, cold, skin rashes, that kind of thing.
Okay, so for those, it's not too bad.
Right. But if you do end up getting a prescription, double check it. Use a translation app, look it up online, and be aware of any allergies or potential interactions.
Makes sense. And what about emergencies, like if you need an ambulance?
The number is 120, but there's no guarantee they'll speak English. So it's really helpful to have a local friend who can make the call for you just to be sure everything's clear.
That's a great tip. So, sounds like Shenzhen is a place that's got a lot to offer, but you gotta be prepared.
Totally. Like, it's exciting, it's dynamic, but it definitely requires a different mindset and approach than what many Westerners are used to.
Absolutely. Well, that's all we have time for today. Huge thanks to our source for all the amazing insights.
And to you for tuning in. We hope this deep dive gave you a good overview of what to expect and how to navigate the challenges of living in Shenzhen.
Now, we want to hear from you. What struck you as the most interesting or maybe the most daunting part of adapting to a place like Shenzhen? And what else would you like to know about life there? Let us know in the comments.